Well, good morning, church. So, I've recently realized something. Now, I don't have a degree in psychology or in sociology, but based on my keen observation on how people react and behave, I've determined that people's actions and their attitudes and their behavior are fully or almost fully based on whoever is around them at the time. Let me explain. I'll give you an example. My best friends. Anytime I'm hanging out with my very best friends, I let my hair down, like all 8 of them. I let my hair down. I'm just myself. I don't have a worry or a care in the world. I don't have to guard and think about what I'm saying or how I'm presenting myself. I'm comfortable. I'm relaxed. You guys that way with some of your best friends? People that you grew up with, your long life, home slice? It's what the young kids say these days. I'm that way, right? If I'm around my favorite people, my best friends, I can have a great time doing anything. Like literally, I could be having a great time picking up trash on the side of the road as long as my best friends are with me. On the flip side, you ever been driving? It's a nice day. You decide to, go an easy 12 miles over the speed limit. But oh no, you see a police car. Maybe you're not even speeding. Maybe you're one of those people who drives the speed limit and then you see a police car. Doesn't like every muscle in your body instantly tense up in that moment? You begin worrying, oh no, you're checking the speedometer constantly. Am I speeding? Am I going too slow? You check your sticker. Has it been inspected recently? Are my tags out? You worry about your brake lights. You worry about your tail lights. You worry about your blinker fluid. All of these things you start thinking about, and then make sure your hands are at 10 o'clock and 2 o'clock. Check the rear view mirror every 4.6 seconds. Any of you guys have that when the police officers are near? Okay, what? All right, well, it's a perfectly normal human reaction that when the police are near, you're on your best behavior, right? I want to make sure that I don't do anything wrong and mess up. Because if you open the Texarkana Gazette and you see that your pastor got arrested last night, it's not a good day for this church, just saying. Interestingly enough, I've often wondered where on that spectrum I am as a preacher. Do people think of me like their best friend, or do people think of me like a police officer that they have to be, act right around? And the great fun is that I have a tremendous amount of power in that. Eventually, people get there to where I am like their best friend. They're excited to be around me. They're their natural selves. They're willing to cry around me, share what's going on in their lives, all those wonderful things. But not initially. Let me explain. One of my favorite things is whenever people meet me for the first time, find out that I'm a pastor, and then they invite me over for dinner. The nervousness that people have is incredible when they can't figure out whether or not I drink. Because then they're not sure of whether or not it's okay for them to drink in my presence. After all, I am a man of God. So it's really fun. I'll go over to someone's house and they'll say, "Hey, Greg, welcome. We're so glad you're here. Can we get you a beverage? We got we got water, we got Dr. Pepper, and some other things." And I'll say, "Great. What are the other options?" And they'll say, "Oh, we got lemonade, we got sweet tea, and we have some stronger things." So I'll say "Okay, what are the stronger options?" And they're like, "Yeah, we got coffee." And so I'll just look at them and I'm like, "Do you have any bourbon?" And then they breathe a sigh of relief. "Oh, yeah, let me just go into the speakeasy in the back and I'll bring out a couple bottles for us." It's so much fun. And eventually when they realize "Yeah, I'm okay, you can be yourself," then they let their hair down and it's a great time. Similarly, I can be out in the grocery store. I can be in the grocery store. There I am at Target. I'm getting bacon. I'm getting eggs. And there I see someone who's a member of the church. I see one of you. And I'll be like, "Oh my gosh, it's so-and-so." I'm saying so-and-so so that I don't subconsciously name one of you. "Oh my gosh, it's so-and-so. Let me go say hi to them and let me greet them and tell them how excited I am to see them." So I'll walk over and I'll be like, "Oh my gosh, how's your day going?" And then the reaction is never, "Oh, I'm doing great. How are you?" The reaction is as if I'm a mafia member come to collect. Instantly the excuses start. So I say, "Hey, I'm so glad to see you. How are you?" And then they say, "I've been out of town the last 3 months. I promise I'll be there on Sunday." And it's so fun because I'm never trying to make anyone feel guilty. And then every time I run into someone in public and they do that, they're always there the next Sunday. Your actions and your behavior are shaped by who's around you. So today is the last Sunday in our Don't Worry, Be Happy sermon series focusing on Thanksgiving, following Paul's letter to the Philippian church. And today we're at the very end. We're in chapter 4. Now, I've given you the context. I've told you that Philippi, the church in Philippi, was part of a Roman colony. So these were Roman citizens. I've told you that this church was facing persecution. I've told you that whenever Paul wrote this letter, he was in chains. He was literally writing it from prison. And yet the overwhelming theme of this short little letter that's only 4 chapters, the overwhelming theme is joy. 16 times Paul mentions joy or rejoicing. And now we get to the very end of the letter. Paul is wrapping up, and he gives his final exhortation, his final command, his final directives to these Philippian Christians. And he says 3 specific things that they're supposed to do. At the very start of what Lacey read this morning, chapter 4, verse 4, he says, "Rejoice in the Lord always." I'm going to say it again, rejoice, exclamation mark. Anytime someone repeats themselves, they're being remarkably emphatic. It's really important what they're saying. They want to make sure they drill it into your brain. I learned that from my parents. If they repeat themselves, I better really pay attention. So Paul says to rejoice always. Notice, he doesn't say, consider rejoicing. He doesn't say, think about being joyful. It's a command. He's telling them, rejoice, do it. Why? Because to be joyful, to rejoice is an essential characteristic of what it means to be a Christian. It's not optional. If you are someone who believes in and follows the Lord Jesus, you are someone who should be rejoicing. He doesn't give any option. Rejoice. And I'm going to say it again, rejoice. Did I mention to you that this is a church that's facing persecution? Which means challenges from the outside world. Christians are being killed in the street. They're being locked up, separated from their families. And yet Paul says, doesn't matter, rejoice. And he doesn't just say rejoice. Rejoice always. Not rejoice when things are good. Not rejoice when things go your way. Not rejoice whenever your wife says, I love you. Not rejoice whenever you get accepted into your dream college, Baylor University. Rejoice always, in every situation, in every circumstance, in every scenario, no matter what's going on, no matter what anyone says, rejoice. Second, he continues on and says, let your gentleness be evident to all. You guys know what he means by the word gentleness? Gentleness is another essential characteristic of what it means to be a Christian. To be gentle means to not to insist upon your own way, not to insist that everything go exactly the way you want, not to be assertive or aggressive. It means not to be prickly and easily angered. It means not to hold grudges. And then he doesn't just say, let your gentleness be evident. Let your gentleness be evident, oh no, church, to all. Not just to your friends and to your family, not just to those whom you really like and who like you in return. Let your gentleness be evident to all. Let your gentleness be evident even to your enemies. Let your gentleness be evident even to the opposite political party of whatever you vote for. Let your gentleness be evident even to everyone else, no matter who they are. Let your gentleness be evident to the Whataburger employee who got your order wrong. Let your gentleness be evident to the single handicapped golfer who says, oh, I'm not that good. These are super annoying people that I'm giving examples of right now. But we have to be gentle to them. Let your gentleness, we're about to be at Thanksgiving dinner, right? There's like 1,000 people that sit around the Thanksgiving table. I don't think I've ever seen a Thanksgiving table that was seating less than 8 people. And even if there was another table of 8 right next to it. Let your gentleness be evident even to the person who chews with their mouth open at the dinner table. This is not the time for aggressiveness. Let your gentleness, let your graciousness, let your kindness and compassion be evident. Let it be clearly displayed. And then he gives a third exhortation, a third command, a third directive to them. This is the one you guys are all going to love the most. He says in verse 6, don't be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition with thanksgiving, present your request to God. Don't be anxious about anything. Some of you, anxiety is your middle name. It's literally what you do best. You majored in it in college. It's your number one gifting is to be highly anxious. And yet he says, don't be anxious. Because anxiety is literally the opposite of what it means to be a Christian. Anxiety comes from fear. Anxiety comes from pride, from feeling a lack of control. Those things are essentially not Christian characteristics. Don't be anxious. And then he gives a qualifier, just like he did the other two, right? Rejoice always. Let your gentleness be evident to all. And then finally, don't be anxious about anything. There is no scenario, there is no situation, there is no thing that it is acceptable for you to be anxious about. If you're a college kiddo and you're studying for your final exams in college, don't be anxious. If you are a young parent and you're about to have your first or your fourth kid, don't be anxious. If you're listening to all the things that I've said in this sermon so far that we've read from the Apostle Paul in Philippians, and you're recognizing that you don't meet any of these things, and you're squirming in your seats, don't be anxious. Don't be anxious about anything, but rather in prayer, take it to God, and His peace that passes all understanding will guard your hearts and your minds. This is an incredibly powerful word that Paul has given to these Christians. And it's an incredible display that they'll be able to give to everyone else around. Could you imagine a person who rejoices always, even though things are not going their way? Could you imagine a person who is gentle to everybody, even someone who would stand there and cuss them to their face, and yet they don't respond in anger or aggressiveness? Could you imagine someone who is not anxious about anything, but has full trust in God? Oh my gosh! That person's an amazing witness to what the power of Christ can do in someone's heart. Anyone do it? Wow, not one of you raised your hands. Clearly, Sheriff Greg is the one that you're all feeling right now. We don't do this all the time. We all have our moments, right? We've got our moments where we can be calm even amidst a storm and not feel anxiety. We've had those moments. We've had our moments where we can respond gently and graciously and kindly even to someone who's being aggressive and malicious or angry towards us. And we've had our moments where we can still find a glimmer of joy even in the darkest of situations. We have our moments, but we can't do it all the time. So why? Why would Paul say, do this always, do it for everyone, don't be anxious about anything? Clearly, it's got to be possible, otherwise he wouldn't have said it, right? So let's think about it. Let's really dig deep into our sin and why we're so broken and can't do this. Here's a theory I have. One, we really overload ourselves and we put so much pressure on ourselves, especially around the holiday season, that it causes stress. And how does stress affect joy? When we're stressed, when we feel like the whole weight of the whole world is on our shoulders, we don't tend to be the most happy people, do we? We tend to be a little bit grumpy. I'm guilty of that. On a normal day, I have the temperament of a golden retriever. I'm like, you guys, this is the best day there's ever been. The sun is shining and we're all going to be great and it's going to be a wonderful day. When I'm stressed and I have a lot that's going on, it's very possible that you could walk past me and say, hey, Greg, and I say, yeah, that's good. Because I'm so busy with everything that I've got going on. Stress kills joy. What about gentleness? Gosh, any of you guys ever been actually, let me rephrase that. You're not going to out yourself. Any of you guys had a spouse who's been super stressed, and then you make the mistake of breathing wrong, and then they just bite your head off like a Rottweiler that hasn't eaten in 6 days? Oh my goodness, stress does not give way to gentleness. In fact, it does quite the opposite. It wears down our walls, and it causes us to lash out at the least deserving person. And then what about peace? Gosh, if you have a lot of pressure on you, if you have a lot of stress, there's no peace. It's nothing but internal turmoil. It's nothing but all of this worry. It's nothing but all of this grief. What if this happens? And what if that doesn't go right? And what if I don't get this done? It's constant flux that's in your mind, like constant turning. There is no rest. So that's one reason why I think that we don't always enjoy these things is because we have so much pressure on us and we put so much stress on ourselves. Second, I think that our habits work against us. I think that we've actually conditioned ourselves to not do these things. Let me explain. I think that, what was the first one? Joy is not a natural response for us because we've actually conditioned ourselves to focus on the negative and on the problems. How many of you are in here? Let's see, 1, 2, 400. So if we're walking out the door, right, and let's say the first 355 people walk out and say, Greg, oh my gosh, that was the best sermon I've ever heard in my life. Like, my life is forever changed. You are not only handsome, but also remarkably well spoken. I'm so glad I came to church today, right? Very nice. Imagine 355 people saying that. Best day ever. And then one person comes out and says, guess you didn't have time to prepare a sermon this week, huh? I would go home and I would not be focused on what all the positive things were said. I would be focused on that one person. Like, what did they hear? Were they listening to a different sermon? Maybe I wasn't that good. And I'll start to analyze that. Why did they say that? We condition ourselves to focus on the negative, on the problems. Second, how does that relate to our gentleness? We've conditioned ourselves to where gentleness is not a natural response. But if someone provokes us, if someone irks us, what is our go-to behavior? To be defensive, to seek control, to correct other people. And then, how does it affect our peace? Our habits have trained ourselves that peace does not come naturally. What comes naturally? Overthinking, overplanning, carrying everything ourselves, does it not? I'm guilty of this too. Man, I'm so guilty of this. I was up here all day yesterday getting ready for today because, this is important. Things have to go right. Your salvation depends on it. And I have people who are texting me, who were literally coming up to my office saying, Greg, you need to go home. It's not good for you to preach with bags under your eyes. Everything's going to be fine. People can take care of things. People's salvation does not depend upon your one sermon. Go home. Third, not just is it stress, not just is it our habits that work against us, but the simple truth is, friends, we're broken people. We are imperfect human beings whose emotions can change in a whim. You ever heard the expression, someone woke up on the wrong side of the bed? It happens. And there's not even always a reason for it. Sometimes we like to explain, I'm in a bad mood because X. I'm in a bad mood because this person said this. I'm doing terribly because this happened. But sometimes you just wake up feeling extremely tired. Sometimes you wake up feeling overwhelmed. Sometimes you just wake up and you're not feeling it. Is there joy whenever you have those emotions and those that's weighing down on your shoulders? No, not usually. That's not usually the response. What about whenever sadness or irritation or frustration flare up and then someone happens to say the wrong thing to you? Is gentleness the go-to response? No, not usually. And if we're in a state of emotional turmoil and flux, do we have peace in our heart? No, there's no peace. There's no peace. There's restlessness. So we've established, Paul says, do these things always, at all times. Rejoice, be gentle, don't worry and be anxious. We've established, we do it anyway. How is it that we can follow the Apostle Paul's words? How can we experience this not just some of the times, but all of the time? The answer, friends, is way back to where I started the sermon in my introduction, that our behavior and our attitudes and our actions are shaped by who we're around. It's shaped by who is near. Here's the great news. There's four little words in this passage that so many people can easily gloss over. I want to read from the top where we started in verse 4, and I want to see if you can catch these words. Very, very important words, words that are the cornerstone of the entire passage, of all the reason why Paul is saying that we both can and should be able to do this. Verse 4, rejoice in the Lord always. I will say it again, rejoice. Let your gentleness be evident to all. The Lord is near. Did y'all catch the 4 words? The Lord is near. When he says that the Lord is near, what does he mean? He means that Jesus Christ, who was crucified, dead, and buried, has been risen from the grave. And guess what, friends? He's not distant. He's not somewhere else. Where is he? He's near. He's with you. He's in your heart. And if Christ is constantly near you, that means that we behave that means we act in a certain way. If your best friend is constantly with you, if your spouse, your partner in life is constantly with you, if your kids are constantly with you, you act a certain way. The Lord is near. What does it mean that the Lord is near? I want to share another passage with you. This is from the Old Testament, the book of Psalms, Psalm 145. I'm going to read verses 13 through 21. Listen to what it says. Your kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and your dominion endures through all generations. The Lord is trustworthy in all he promises, and he's faithful in all he does. The Lord upholds all who fall and lifts up all who are bowed down. The eyes of all look to you, and you give them their food at the proper time. You open your hand, and you satisfy the desires of every living thing. The Lord is righteous in all his ways and faithful in all he does. The Lord is near to all who call on him, to all who call on him in truth. He fulfills the desires of those who fear him. He hears their cry and he saves them. The Lord watches over all who love him, but the wicked he will destroy. My mouth will speak in praise of the Lord. Let every creature praise his holy name forever and ever. This is literally a psalm dedicated to all the wonderful things that the Lord does because he is near. Do you know what it means for you because the Lord is near? It means that you can have a heart completely filled with joy. Because if the Lord is near to you, if the Lord of all creation, of all heaven and earth, who died for you, is intentional about being near for you, that means you are so radically loved despite all your faults, all your failures, all your sins, that Jesus is literally choosing to be with you. No matter what's going on, that is an occasion for joy. Do you know how the Lord being near is able to affect us being gentle? When we're not gentle is when we're trying to get our way, when we're trying to get people to listen to us, to do what we want. But because the Lord is near, we know that everything is in his hands and not our own. We know that he has his own plan and that we don't have to fight. We don't have to justify ourselves. We don't have to insist on anything. He holds everything in his hands. So we can relax, we can let go, we can be gentle. And the fact that the Lord is near provides the greatest occasion for peace. Rather than being stressed, rather than being anxious, rather than feeling like the weight of everything is specifically on us, we can then hand it off to Jesus. We can trust that he is with us through every valley, through every hardship, in thick and through thin, and through everything we face, and that he is strong enough to bear it even when we are not. We can think that every single day, and it will always give our hearts peace. When we recognize that the Lord is near, joy, gentleness, and peace become not just occasional things in our lives, but constants in our lives every single day. And the thing I'll leave you with, how do we remind ourselves of this? How do we ensure that we keep our minds on recognizing that Jesus is near? How do we make sure that we don't lose sight of that whenever the busyness of life throws curveballs at us and whenever we get stressed because of what's going on around us, right in front of us? Paul addresses that too. He says in verse 8, finally, brothers and sisters, whatever's true, whatever's noble, whatever's right, whatever is pure, whatever's lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things. You know what he's saying? Open your eyes. Look at everything that's happening all around you. And if you look, I guarantee you, you will see something that God is doing. If you look, I guarantee you, you will see some way where you will be reminded that the Lord is near. Maybe it's someone who's been healed from a disease. Maybe it's someone who has experienced birth, even though they've been trying for the longest time with no results. Maybe it's your youngest college kiddo who's off on their own and by a miracle passed their chemistry exam. There's all sorts of ways in which God is showing up in this world that if we will just open our eyes and think through it, we'll be reminded once again that the Lord is near and that there is never any reason to worry. So friends, I have no idea what your lives look like. I have no idea what Thursday is going to look like for you, but no matter what goes on, no matter what Uncle Al says, you have every reason for joy. You have every reason for gentleness. You have every reason for peace. And you have every reason to give thanks every single day because of one fundamental truth, the truth that is true now, tomorrow, and will be to the end of time. The Lord is near. And that's the best possible news, friends. Amen and amen.